Hello dear friend, welcome to my new video. Today I am going to discuss about an essay by Mary Wollstonecraft, A Vindication of the Rights of Women. It is a essay basically based on uh, combating the ways in which women are oppressed and denied their full potential in society. At the time, it was written with consequent issues for their families and society as a whole. The book is dedicated to Charles M. Talleyrand Perigord, a late bishop of Autumn, whose opinions on women's education Wollstonecraft found objectionable. Her argument that adult women conditions are largely the result of girls' education being neglected is stated in the introduction. They accept these operations and are considered as inferior humans who are solely concerned with being beautiful, charming, and humble. They lack the resources to defend their basic rights and are unaware that they are in this situation. So basically, this something about say would like to say about the women education, human right, women equality. So basically, in the first half of in the first we see that there is a introduction which contains that I have a strong opinion that women in particular are made weak and miserable by a variety of circumstances after carefully reading the historical page. This barren flowering in particular I blame on a faulty educational system that was gleaned from books authored by men who were more eager to turn women into seductive mistresses than sensible wives. I want to avoid making the mistake of speaking primarily to women and instead focus on the middle class. I want to persuade women to work on becoming physically and mentally strong and to persuade them that being delicate in thought and feeling is practically the same as being weak, pitifully, and despised. There is little cause to worry that women will develop too much courage or fortitude. But I assume that reasonable men will forgive me for trying to conceive women to become more masculine and respectable, saying that many people are more intelligent than their male relatives and that some women can rule their husbands without putting themselves in a low positions seem almost unnecessary. Intelligence will always rule. So these state in the introduction. Uh, in chapter 1, at, we see the title The Rights and Involved Duties of Mankind Considered. It contains It seems vital to return to the fundamentals in order to uncover the most basic facts given the status of society today. What therefore constitutes man's superiority over the brutish creation? The solution is as obvious as the fact that a half is less than a whole. Reason: what possessions elevates one being over another? Virtue: what function did the passions serve? By battling against them, a man might learn something that only the brutes could understand, which for experiences. The conclusions that a society's constitution should be based on human nature is thereafter obvious. However, the desire to be surrounded by wealth, to be in charge of fanning syncopaths, and to exhibit doting self-love have all helped to overwhelm the majority of humanity and turn liberty into a useful tool for spoof nationalism never becoming wise. No man can develop the mental fortitude to carry out the duties of a monarch in an environment where flattery stifles all emotions and power intoxicates frail individuals. Nonetheless, this straightforward assertion provokes accusations that those who support it are enemies of both God and humanity. I won't likely surprise anyone when I say that every professions where rank and subordinations constitute power is seriously and detrimental to morality after challenging the sacred majesty of king. For example, uh, a standing army is incompatible with freedom as authoritarianism and submissions are the core pillars of military discipline. Furthermore, nothing is more detrimental to the morality of Grecian towns than those lazy young people who cover their ugliness with flamboyant ornamental garb. Sailors fall into the same category as other people, but their vices take on a different and grosser form. The clergy may have better prospects for improvement, but their universities require blind submissions, and the only way for them to advance in their field is by obsequious rigor. The opinion of a strong common man are so soaked in the vat of sacred authority that it is impossible to discern the faint spirit that the grape of his own vines bears from those of a man of reason who may have some originality. This noxious purple is what makes civilization's advancements a curse and distorts our understanding. It was all about chapter 1, and chapter 2 is contains the title of chapter 2, the prevailing opinion of a sexual character discussed. So, it has been stated that the two sexes should aim for quite different personalities while developing virtue, or to put it more bluntly, that women are not permitted to have enough mental fortitude to develop real virtue. This is done to explain and justify the tyranny of men. Women learn from an early age by watching their mothers that if they are beautiful, they don't need to worry about anything else for at least 20 years of their lives, because men will protect them due to their knowledge of human weakness, which is appropriately referred to as cunning, softness, and temperament, and outward obedience. Thus, Milton tells us that women are formed for softness and sweet, attractive grace. I cannot comprehend this his meaning unless in the true um, Mahometan strain. He meant to deprive us of souls. Children, I grant, should be innocent, but when the epithet is applied to men or women, it is but a civil term for weakness. Let's instead consider how we might try to persuade them to collaborate if the expression is not too strong with the Supreme Being. Let's start with educations for each individual. The best education, in my opinion, in that which develops the mind in such a way as to strengthen the body and save the heart. In other words, that which enables the individual to develop the moral habits that will enable it to be independent and use its own reason. Rousseau held the following view towards men. I extend it to men. We might look at military men who, like them, are launched into the world before their minds have been filled with information as evidence that education gives women the impressions of weakness solidified by values. Standing armies may be machines, but they rarely include men with strong passions or active minds. Officers enjoy dancing, noisy environments, mischiefs, and ridicule. They were brought up to please and simply like to please. Just like the fair sex, even though it is impossible to determine what constitutes masculine superiority, they are nevertheless seen as being superior to women. Moses' poetical story may have given rise to the widely held belief that women were created for men. But very few people would have believed that Eve was literally one of Adam's ribs. Instead, the story demonstrates how, since the beginning of time, man has found it convenient to use force to dominate his companion. When the summer is over and gone, the lady who has only been taught to please will quickly realize that her charms are oblique sunbeams and that they don't have much of an impact on her husband's heart when they are seen every day. Will she then have enough inherent energy to nurture her dormant talents and go inward for solace? Or isn't it more reasonable to assume that she will make an effort to win over other guys or try to forget the humiliations her love or pride has experienced while feeling the excitements of potential new love? Her desire to please will wane or turn into a well of resentment when the husband stops being a lover, which is bound to happen. Love gives place to jealousy and or vanity. Women's fame is naturally weaker than a man's, but by managing her family and upholding principles, a woman who trains her mind and strengthens her body can become her husband's friend rather than his dependent. Moral, Moralists consistently accord to telling women to simply take care of the present, even though the course of life appears to demonstrate that man is equipped by diverse conditions for a future state. On this basis, the three cardinal virtues of gentleness, docility, and spaniel like affections are repeatedly suggested. She was made to be a man's rattle and just jingle in his ears whenever he chooses to be entertained regardless for reason. But to consider the matter from a different angle, and do sluggish passive women take the best spouses? So far from it, in fact, that after studying the story of women, I can't help but concur with the harshest satirist in saying that the sex is the most oppressed and weakest half of the species. They should not be treated like slaves if they have the capacity to behave rationally. Instead, they should be allowed to develop a sense of self-dependence only upon God. I adore man, but whether his sculpture is genuine or fictitious, it doesn't extend to me. It responds to man when the argument is made about how sex has always been maintained in subordinations. The few have always captured the attentions in the many of the many. Is it not generally accepted that monarchs have never matched the same number of persons taken from the general populations of humanity in terms of abilities and virtue? The world has thus far been ruled by brutal force, and political science is still in its infancy. I want to go any further with these arguments than to establish the apparent implications that everybody, including women, will become wiser and more upright as liberties are diffused by good politics. So, this is all about Mary Wollstonecraft's Vindications of the Rights of Women. And I try to grab all the informations deeply from the chapter 1 and chapter 2, and hope it will be benefited to you all. Thank you.